New Jersey hasn't elected a Republican senator in over 50 years. Curtis Bashaw hopes to change that. He's my guest here on The Point, and I want to ask you, Robert Menendez got out of the race, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in New Jersey about who should be appointed to fill his unexpired term. You have a whole list of possibilities, but you don't want it to be Andy Kim, the Democrat. Why not?
Well, we think it's appropriate, Marcia, for our governor to appoint a caretaker and not a candidate. There's a precedent for that in New Jersey under Tom Kean when Harrison Williams resigned, with Chris Christie.
But Jon Stewart?
Well, we just added a list. There's so many people in New Jersey that would be qualified to be a caretaker in this situation. But New Jersey voters really want to see this race prosecuted without a favorite. They want to just understand what each of our positions are and vote fairly.
So you say about yourself that you can't be put in a box. Does that mean that you're like a little bit Republican, a lot Republican? Why do you say that about yourself?
Well, I'm a lifelong Republican. I voted for Reagan in 1980. I'm a small businessman, and I've built a business from 20 employees to over 1,000. I'm a married gay man. I love the country. I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-police. I'm pro-Ukraine. So, you know, I think too often we're boxing people in with checklists of orthodoxy, and people are ready just for us to run our own race and be who we are.
You just said that you're pro-choice, which is sort of interesting for a Republican, but also because the Democrats nationally and in New Jersey plan to make abortion and the woman's right to choose a big issue in all their campaigns. So what are you going to say to them when they say you're a Republican, you must be against a woman's right to choose?
Well, I'm going to say I'm pro-choice. You know, I believe in freedoms. I don't believe that government should be coming into our homes telling us who we should live with, marry, or how to take care of our health care. And so that's important. I think the Democrats want to talk about this as the #1 issue because they don't want to talk about the border. They don't want to talk about affordability, inflation, and the economy.
Well, one of the things that the Democrats have been talking a lot about is something I'm sure you've heard of called Project 2025, which has a lot of things that may be good and may be bad, but the things that they're highlighting, for example, are the desire to cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. Your positions on those?
Well, first of all, Project 2025 was an outside group. I don't even know who wrote it. There's
the
things
Heritage
in there
Foundation, a lot of people who were former Trump supporters.
Okay, right. So there's some things I'm going to agree with and disagree with. I think that it's super important for us to make sure that the contract we have with those who have paid into Social Security remains secure and safe and reliable.
But what about the people who are not getting Social Security now? Would you cut the benefits for people who are too young to collect?
Well, the people who have a contract are anyone who started working in our country. So that would be someone 13, 14, or 15 years old, way in the future, that maybe there should be some thoughts about what to do there. But for people who have already started to pay in, we need to keep this a secure retirement and keep that contract.
What would you do about Medicare and Medicaid?
Medicare and Medicaid, obviously on all these things, I'm a business person. I'm from outside of government, and I'm used to balancing budgets. I'm used to driving efficiencies. I'm used to growing revenues. You know, we want to make things work. So I think there's always opportunity in our government bureaucracies to look for efficiencies, to look for better productivity, so it remains affordable for everybody.
So another thing about Project 2025 is it seems to have some anti-gay planks. How are you going to deal with that?
Well, I'm a gay American. I'm a married man. I believe that it's my right to choose who I spend my life with and should be afforded those benefits. So we're strongly in the camp of supporting those rights, and I think the Republican Party identified those as things that they also supported in this last convention.
So you mentioned border security. How do you feel the Republicans, or how do you feel if you were elected to the Senate? What would you like to see happen in terms of making the borders more secure?
Well,
limit people coming in?
There's too many people coming in. It's not locked. I mean, a sovereign nation is entitled to a border with ports of entry that are lockable. You can't have an immigration policy if there's not a secure border. I went to the border 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I stood there over from 12:30 to 3 in the morning and watched 65 people walk into our country. It was like lining up for Space Mountain at Disney World. And they had TSA pre-check. I mean, it was crazy to watch people from China, Syria just come in the back door, and it undermines the work that legal immigrants do. About a third of our workforce in Cape May are legal first-generation Americans. They went through a process that took 2, 3, 4 years. To have people cutting the line isn't fair. And the fact is, because New Jersey is a sanctuary state, we don't even know who they are that are coming into our communities. It's the #1 issue in our state. It's job one for us when we get to Washington to secure the border. That doesn't need to be a partisan issue. Immigration policy, how many, from where, and why, is a different issue. But just securing your border, it's like I lock my house at night when I go to bed. I don't leave the back door open. And that's what we have at our border right now, and it needs to stop.
Donald Trump would like to deport people who are here now and send them back to their countries. How do you feel about that policy?
I think, one, we need to secure the border. 2, we need to know who they are. And certainly we can all agree that if someone's a criminal, they shouldn't be here. If someone's smuggling fentanyl, they shouldn't be here. Or human trafficking. We need to know who these people are, and then we need to send some home that aren't living by our rules. I think it's a really tall order to deport all these people en masse, but we certainly need to start with securing the border, finding out who people are, and making sure that the people that are doing illegal activities in our country are sent home.
So do you think there should be a limited number of people who are allowed in, or should we just close the borders for a while till we get everything worked out?
I think we should secure the borders and enforce our policies and make sure that we know who's coming through the port of entry into our homeland. And that is something that no one should disagree with. And so that's job one. And when we do that, we will negotiate how many people we think is the right balance for people to immigrate to our country. I'm pro-legal immigration.
So let me ask you, another issue that's very big in Washington right now is what to do about Israel, the Middle East, a ceasefire, bringing the hostages home. What are your positions on that?
Look, Israel is a democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East. They're our longtime friend. I support their right to defend themselves. This issue about the hostages, Hamas could release the hostages any minute, and I think the whole thing would de-escalate. Why they're not called upon to just do that doesn't make sense to me.
But yet, they haven't released the hostages, and they're holding out for something. Obviously, they want to have recognition. Do you support a two-state solution? Do you think it should not be a two-state solution?
I think the first thing they need to do is release the hostages and let them come home so we de-escalate the situation, and then we have diplomatic solutions to the endemic problems there. This has been a terrible tragedy, all sides around. They came in and had a terrorist act that killed thousands of people in Israel, violating their sanctity, and Hamas needs to give back the hostages immediately.
So if you demilitarize the area, who would be in charge of making sure that they don't get any more weapons?
Well, the last time, the Gazans elected Hamas to serve them, and Hamas hasn't served them well. So the process, as it de-escalates, they're going to work this out between the different parties, and I think the United States will be in there helping to negotiate a solution long term.
So you think the United States should be part of it? We have about 30, 40 seconds left. What would you like to see the role of the United States once we bring the hostages home and there's a ceasefire?
I mean, Donald Trump and that last presidential administration worked hard on the Abraham Accords, and there was real progress to try to get things de-escalated in the Middle East. You know, we have terrorist states like Iran supporting these hostage groups as proxies for their war, and we need to stand by our friend.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We're back with a bonus conversation you'll only see here on CBS News New York. So first of all, how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
A political outsider.
Wow, and they all went together. Great. What is the best thing about summer?
The Jersey Shore.
What's the worst thing?
Humidity.
Humidity. I can go with that. What was your least favorite food as a child?
Peas.
Peas? Why?
I don't know. I love spinach. I loved asparagus, but peas just didn't work for me.
What was your favorite food?
Oh, mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese? You're easy.
Well, I loved it, and lemon meringue pie.
And lemon meringue pie?
That's a big one.
Okay. Who do you turn to for advice?
I turn to my husband, my sister, and those two are really big confidants for me.
Who gives you the best advice?
They both do.
They both do. That's very diplomatic. So what's the biggest challenge you've faced in life so far?
Well, restoring Congress Hall in Cape May was a huge challenge. Everyone said it was impossible. It was a 200-year-old abandoned hotel, and we worked tenaciously and tirelessly, committed to the vision of restoring this landmark, and we had to bring people together to get things done, and we did it.
And you got it done. And when did you open it?
2002.
And so it's been a success ever since.
It has.
So what, if anything, are you reading now?
I'm reading a lot of policy papers because I'm running for United States Senate.
No kidding.
So that's one thing. I'm reading a very interesting old book about political campaigns called What It Takes. It was written by a Philadelphia Inquirer reporter like 30 years ago. That's been fascinating.
You have any life lessons learned about how you should run your campaign from reading the book?
I think, well, I learned in the book that people that do this have to have boundless energy, and they have to keep going because there's ups and downs every day. And I think that's what we do. We just dig deep every day as we continue this campaign.
So do you have boundless energy?
I do.
And do you keep going?
I do.
You're the Energizer Bunny.
A little bit.
Okay, so what's your favorite way to spend the Sunday?
Well, in the summertime, I love to go to Congress Beach across from Congress Hall. I like to get my umbrella. I like to bring the newspapers and magazines and the things that I'm behind on. Now, mostly that's on my iPad. And I sit there and I read. I like to go around 3 o'clock and stay until 6:30 or 7 when the gulls start to take over from the crowds and you hear the sounds. And I like to go in the water about every 30 minutes.
And do you have a favorite meal that you eat that day when you're spending your Sunday? A hot dog on the boardwalk?
Well, there's a place called Hot Dog Tommy's right around the corner from my house and near Congress Hall that's amazing. Their lines are so long during the day, but at the end of the day, you can get one on the fly and then maybe just steam up some fresh Jersey corn.
Sounds like a great life. So thank you for joining me, and thank you at home for joining us as well.